Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Thrawn Treason and the audiobook exclusive Dooku Jedi Lost, to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Start listening wherever audiobooks are sold.
This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
I have a question. Orka and Flix, openly gay couple in Star Wars. They're going home to one of their
to see the mother.
Yeah, the mother. Yeah. Have you discussed this?
I think it's safe to say they're an item.
Yeah, absolutely. They're absolutely a gay couple, and we're proud of that.
Cool, dude, that's great. Yeah,
we love Flix and Orka.
We love those guys.
And Bobby and Jim, who play, are just so wonderful.
They have the same chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's awesome. Yeah, they're my favorites.
With that in mind, what are you guys most proud of with Resistance? What do you think made the biggest mark on Star Wars history with it? Along with your awards. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm proud of the fact that Dave Filoni trusted us to create a whole new universe that wasn't part of the Star Wars lore originally, and also the support behind the diversity that we have in the show, not just in the character design, but also in our voice actors that bring them to life.
Yeah, I love the eclectic characters. I love the designs. I'm just so proud of the whole team and what we've done. I'm just over the moon,
Yeah, and the fact that we get to see kind of like this slice of life. You know what I mean? Like this sort of they're all kind of blue collar. They're all sort of they're not big. They don't start as these big epic heroes. None of them are Jedi.
Right.
They're really just kind of trying to survive at the edge of the galaxy. And then we get to see this sort of this insidious sort of this First Order sort of creep in, right? This, and we've never really seen that before. How they take over, how they convince people that they're on the right side, right, and everybody else is wrong. That I feel like is very important and very timely.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a little bit about that because it's so well done, and that it's very easy to kind of have black and white it as the mythology's done, and this one really shows you the steps and the personal stakes of why Tam is making the decisions that she's making. So talk a little bit about pitching that arc and then executing it in the best way, and then, as all great art does, about how it really kind of is in some ways kind of modeling what's going on in the world today, and any kind of time or place, but that people can look at that as an example and really take something from that.
Right. Well, I when we realized that Tam was going to go into the First Order, it almost happened organically, and we didn't want it to happen, but we knew it had to happen, it gave us an opportunity to get a little more insight, into the First Order. But speaking to the diversity, the characters have different perspectives, different backgrounds. And, Tam's background with her grandfather working for the Empire, she doesn't view them as a bad guy. They helped her family out. And in her eyes, the First Order could be police officers, enforcement that she can get behind. And then you have characters like Tyranny, who is very manipulative, and she sees this weakness and what she's feeling. She got hurt, by her friends. So this is an opening for her to recruit, just to try and bring that depth to these characters.
And we see that in season 1, how Tam looks towards Yeager as a father. She looks towards Kaz as a friend and a brother. And, you have someone like Rucklin that's constantly reminding her in season 2 that, they were traitors. They didn't include her in any of the conversations where you would see Yeager pull Kaz aside for a little bit and have these conversations, and she would be like, well, how come they're not telling me what's going on? I had no idea that he was a spy. So she felt a little betrayed. And so when you're feeling that weak, then something like, hey, you could be a pilot, which is what she was working towards all through season 1, and she never had that opportunity. It was actually given to Kaz more, because even though she was working on the vehicle, Yeager gave it to Kaz.
Yeah. Who's this kid, who took the thing that she was working on, And
the First Order doesn't believe themselves as evil. That's the thing. Like evil never really sees themselves as evil. Evil sees them, the First Order sees themselves as they're going to bring order to the galaxy. They're going to bring law and order, essentially. And they'll go to any extremes to do that, and and that's that, and you can compare that to any kind of evil regime over the course of history, right? They never see themselves as the bad guys. They always see themselves as doing things to get the job done, so that people are safer, that there's order, there's law, and it just But how are they achieving these things? Like that's what evil is, and the manipulation just comes out of the fact that they just think that they're right. So that we thought that was important. We couldn't just paint the First Order as just being like evil for the sake of evil. Even Tyranny believes that they're doing this for the right reasons.
Believe it or not, this is a children's show. So,
can you believe that?
Cool.
Can you believe that?
But what I do love about season 2 is we get to introduce conflict, and you get to see how it's resolved through the episodes.
That's right.
So you guys work pretty tightly between the films, because these are kind of the meat in between the trilogy. What's the process like now that we're closing in on the end of the Skywalker saga and how it plays into Resistance?
We have our writers' conferences that take place about like a year in advance, believe it or not.
Nice.
And we do have a roadmap that's set up. And in between, we have continuity reviews where we come in on a Saturday. We review like half of the episodes in whatever state they're in, whether it's blocking or full color or even close to air, to be honest. And we never see it as finally done until we've had discussions on what's missing. We could change dialogue up to the last minute. But we also include the Lucasfilm Story Group in these meetings to make sure that we stay within continuity and stay within what the stories are, so that we don't, do anything out of what JJ's expecting or what out of Filoni's expecting.
Right. Because we have to make sure everything is connected.
That's right.
Guys, from the storytelling perspective, with the 2 seasons, and you obviously have your ending already set, and you had your beginning, were there areas you wanted to explore that you're just not going to find the time to?
Oh boy! I mean, we have so many characters, so many rich possibilities.
It seems like a lot of possibilities for us.
Yeah, a lot of backstories that we could have gone into, but it really is the main story that we're telling. We couldn't go into. All of that.
Yeah,
there's so many.
It's a survival story. Really, season 2 is about surviving and constantly being chased by the First Order. And then what happens when the ship that came up out of the ocean from this ocean planet, it wasn't really meant to be spacefaring at this point in time, right? Maybe a few years or even a few decades earlier, but they weren't really prepared to launch this thing into space. There's, out there, they need food, they need fuel, they just need to figure out a way to survive. So it's like really just trying to kind of, that was sort of the jumping off point, and then we found, okay, we can explore this part of the galaxy. And now there are these characters maybe after them, and what's the First Order doing? How are they going to track them down? How are they going to use Tam? So it's really that became the core focus of season 2.
But what's a lot of fun is that we now the pirates are on board, as well. It's like, okay, what happens when you add them to the mix? What kind of tension and conflict do you have from there?
A lot of X factors throughout season 2, and how that's going to play into like the danger and the excitement.
You kind of alluded to it. Was the Colossus always meant to fly from the beginning?
Well, you're saying did we plan that, or are you saying just in general? Was that ship always?
I think both.
Kind of both. Yeah.
That was something that we had talked about from very early on. That's something that even Dave Filoni wanted to see.
That was one of those images where it's like you think it's an oil rig, and then it comes up, and you're like, oh crap, that's a spaceship. That was one of those images that we knew had to happen.
That was from very early on.
Well, we wanted to keep it behind closed doors for quite some time, even with our own team members, because we wanted them to be surprised as well. I mean, obviously the designers knew, but it was something where it was like, just when we screened it for the team and they saw it happening, they're like, "What?"
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
There's a photo in season 1 of Yeager's family in Batu. Will we be visiting Black Spire Outpost in season 2?
No, I'm just kidding.
We can probably say there was talk.
Okay.
We had discussions, and other than that,
you'll have to watch the season.
We're all going to watch the season.
But there was a lot of talk.
Okay.
And there was some back and forth that we were really trying to figure out. But at the time, well, you'll see. You'll see. We can't give away too much.
No.
Yeah.
Are you guys already working on the next thing? You guys work in such an early cycle with animation. Obviously, even if you haven't, you can't tell us what it is, but are you guys already moving on to the next phases of the stories that you're going to be telling with Dave?
Well, believe it or not, we're still in production, wrapping up the end of the season. So we're just like, our mindset
all the focus is
all
on
that,
season 2.
Make sure we stick the landing. So
yeah.
We have time for one more question, you guys.
Did you have one more? I had to have a generic one, but from the process, I know you're still wrapping up production on 2, and so what's been your favorite moments from the 2 seasons?
For me, on a personal level, and I'm genuine in saying this, I know it sounds weird, but this is one of the best productions I've been on, getting to work with Justin and Brandon and Filoni in this capacity.
And Athena.
I hope I get that opportunity again, because it's been a lot of fun, from the voice record sessions to the writers' conferences to just everything. And I feel like, if this is okay to say, that I kind of grew on the show, because it was my first time ever getting to do these types of like panels and outlets and everything. And I feel like I maybe grew a little bit, in terms of that. It was a great experience. Like, I loved it very much.
Well, likewise with Athena. She's awesome.
Yep.
We have such a cool crew, and I'm so proud of everyone, on the show. I think in the series itself, I think when we had Tam, take Tierney's hand and go into the First Order, I mean, it's heart-wrenching, but I think that was we really wanted that moment to sing, and it was hard, but I like that moment.
Yeah, for me, it was just seeing, like, how the First Order is insidiously sort of, like, infiltrating and taking over. Like, I thought that was just an interesting, like, once that arc started happening, it just becomes so much more, like, interesting and compelling for me. And in season 2, boy, I wish we could talk more about season 2, but there are so many cool things that happen in season 2. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing.
It's fun adventure.
It's a really fun, exciting, like, new creatures, new villains, things that we've never seen before. So season 2 is, there's a lot to look forward to.
And it's, new for these characters as well, because they've been on Castlon this whole time, and now they're lost in space, so what do they do?
Yeah.
And sorry I answered the question on a personal level. On a Star Wars Resistance level, I'm excited about a new character that we will be introducing halfway through, which means the world to me. Yeah, it's very important for me on a personal level, so looking forward to you guys seeing that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool.
There's like a junket log jam, so we can do one more question.
Log jam.
There's log
That's
jam
fun.
out there.
Log jam.
We got more time.
You want to go to Mission Impossible, right?
So this is my personal question. Tora and her father are very important to me because my dad and I are Chilean. So seeing Latinx representation not only in the show but between a father-daughter duo was a really big thing for me. Are we going to see a little bit more about, like, where they came from and what makes them the kind of team they are?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most important things for me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, season 2 we get more in-depth backstory with a lot of our characters. So
there's even more of that. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Justin, can I sneak one in? You worked with Dave back in Avatar: Last Airbender back in 2005.
Back in the old school, yeah.
So, I mean, that process of watching him as a storyteller, how's that been? Working with him now.
I've learned so much from him through the years. I was his assistant director, having not storyboarded ever before Avatar, because I was a character designer and I pretended to draw storyboards in my portfolio, and they liked it. And I was like, what do I do now?
That was unexpected.
Yeah, and he is so smart and aware of emotional storytelling. And his sophistication, I mean, he grew up on Star Wars and Godzilla and, all those fun things. So
we dressed up as Plo, and Giancarlo dressed up as Kit Fisto for the premiere of Phantom Menace, right?
Yeah.
Or was it Attack of the Clones?
Filoni even built a Mecha Godzilla suit, and I helped him on Hollywood Boulevard when they were doing the Godzilla premiere. He actually crashed the party that he had there. We had to make sure he wasn't going to knock anyone over.
That's the best.
He literally crashed the party.
Yeah, literally.
He's a massive Godzilla fan. It's pretty cool.
But I mean, he has been so supportive, and I'm so grateful for his advice and mentorship through the years. I'm so grateful.
Did you guys ever look at the Gennady Tartakovsky Clone Wars stuff? It seems to be it's sort of like locked away in the dark corner of Lucasfilm, but there's so much dynamism and amazing animation in that. Did you ever look to that for inspiration?
For this show, no.
Okay.
When we were on Clone Wars, because that had happened before our Clone Wars. And we all were just like, wow, designs are great. The timing is fun. Like, you felt it, the action. But that wasn't where Lucas wanted to go with the series. He had different ideas. So
we wanted to go CG, too. Yeah, right? I mean, he wanted to do CG.
Yeah, yes. right. Yeah. So it was like, okay, that exists, but we're going over here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
We just got a bombshell revelation.
What's this?
That Orka is one of the first openly gay Star Wars characters.
Who told you this?
The producers, executive.
Oh, I'm so happy we're allowed to say it.
Yes.
I have had a sentence prepared for a year and a half.
Let's hear it.
If someone would finally ask me, I would say, all I could say is that when Flick says I love you, Orka says I know.
I love that.
I'm so
happy.
That's the first time. Yeah, it's the best. They're the cutest, and their little family, Glenn the robot and Bitey the gourd.
Yeah.
My favorite. They're adorable.
I love that.
She's sending it.
They said it with their mouths, we promise. So with that in mind, one thing I've been asking everyone as we get into this next season is, what are you most proud of about being in Resistance and what it's done to the fandom?
I think it might be that. I think it might be the inclusion of it. I think even that, just the idea, when, as a Star Wars fan, when I first auditioned for this, didn't know it was Star Wars, first of all. The characters that I auditioned were called Oscar and Felix. It wasn't, it was the kind of odd couple, like it was just that. And me and Jim got cast, and we kind of got to build it all together. But when I first started getting scripts, and as a Star Wars fan, when someone sends you a secret script that says Project X on it, and then the password is a very Star Wars-y password, I was like, I was like free. I was like, getting scripts was like Christmas morning. Like, it was like, I can't believe I'm in Star Wars. Like, I was a child. But then when you get them and you realize that this show isn't the Force, this is the people that work in the bar, the people that go to the bar. The people on the ships that don't have a lot of credits, you know what I mean? It's the working people, and that was super fascinating to me. And then when I saw the first episode, Kaz and Tam, and it's so inclusive. It's so Star Warsy. It's every great thing about Star Warsy. I mean, like, I don't know if this is like a thing too, but like there was a little part of me the first week that was like, I think I'm kind of like the first, like, kind of vaguely Italian guy in the Star Wars universe. Like, I don't know if there's a planet, a very Jersey kind of planet somewhere in the Star Wars universe. But I was nervous, to be honest. I was like, that's the kind of the voice. Like, when we kind of came up with it, I was me and Jim were playing stuff, and that's kind of where it went. And I was like, there's no Brooklyn on Endor, and I don't want to piss off Star Wars fans because I'm one of them, but like, it made me happy that it's just them. It's those two. Flix and Orka are just very happy together. I love them.
Can you talk about the recording sessions with Jim and how you guys have been able to work together and kind of build, and how much they lean on you guys to kind of, there's always the text of the script, but then you guys are great at improv and being able to build the characters as you know them. So what's the process kind of evolved into as you're in season 2?
It was interesting. I think that has been the coolest part about it, is that it was a process. I think I thought, like, I'm in Star Wars, just do what they say and go home and watch it and cry. Like, because, like, I didn't want to, whatever. But it was this process, and I've said this in a couple interviews today, but I remember when I went to the audition, I knew Jim Rash very little. We had met a couple times. We had friends in common. I'm just a huge fan of his. But when I walked in the room and saw that he was the other guy auditioning, we kind of went like, hey! And the only way I can explain it is, like, I think we got the part before we started doing the audition, because I think they saw Flix and Orka talking to each other and went like, oh, these guys, look at these two. They get along. Like, let's figure that out. And it kind of started from there and changed a little bit. And Jim and I both have improv backgrounds, so, like, any kind of improv they let us do was the best, because it's like those shorts that they did are very me and Jim improv heavy. And the fact that, like, I said a sentence that contributed to Star Wars is a very nerdy thing. I'm very proud of that. Yes. Like, I can't believe it. But also,
My favorite part about it was I have a vast knowledge of Star Wars stuff, and Jim does not. So, like, that would be... I was so clearly trying to shoehorn things into improv. Like, I think I tried to, at some point... I kept, like, trying to Forrest Gump them, where I would insert them into pre-existing or future Star Wars things so that they would be forced to make it canon and have them there. And Jim would be like, I don't know what that is. And it was fun. It would kind of inform the characters a little bit.
That's great.
You have so much fun during presses.
During everything?
Well, Star Wars Celebration looked like you were having a blast in Chicago.
I just recently, like this past week, was thinking to myself, I had way too much fun at Star Wars Celebration, and I must remember when I go to those things that I am working and that I am doing a job, because they were like, come over here, and I was like, hold on! Like, running into the thing to go buy Star Wars stuff. But yes, I enjoy it. I'm at a point in my life where I go like, yeah, I got super lucky. I got to do everything I wanted to do as a kid, and I'm really, it's not lost on me.
Now that you're in the family, you're in the club.
Can you believe it?
How's it changed you as a fan?
I have some notes. No, I'm just kidding. It feels insane to be a part of the whole Disney thing. I'm on DuckTales too. Like, I'm Louie on DuckTales and like that being allowed into that world is a fascinating thing. And it's a really great place full of talented, passionate people who love this stuff. And I feel very at home amongst those people, so I'm glad they like me there. I would change the garbage cans at Lucasfilm. You know what I mean? And the fact that like I'm allowed to do that stuff. I mean, look at my SNL career. 90% of the stuff I did was I was trying to get Star Wars stuff on. But yeah, I've always been a fan. Have I talked about it at all in past interviews?
A little bit.
Yeah.
As a fan, have you been to Galaxy's Edge? Yeah.
I've been 4 times. I'm going again on the 10th.
Okay. You got your Cantina reservation?
Always. Being on a couple Disney cartoons doesn't hurt, by the way. Right. But yeah, no, I enjoy it. I enjoy that culture anyway. I didn't go to Disney until I was very much older. Until I came out here, I was like 40. But I enjoy it. That Galaxy's Edge is a beautiful place. Mm-hmm. I keep telling people whenever they go, I'm like, there's a stairwell. Mm-hmm. It's not part of an attraction. It's not anything. There's just this one stairwell that curves up, and there's a door, and there's like a little thing next to it. It's my favorite part in Galaxy's Edge because I'm like, it's just so Star Warsy. It just looks so Star Warsy, and it makes me really happy. I want to go live in there.
Since you get scripts that are parallel with the canon that's going on in the theatricals, as a huge fan, and of course NDA'd at the wazoo, but just from a fan's perspective, when something floats by you, and since you know canon so well, have you had moments where you've just kind of had to walk it off once you found something?
Thank God, no. Thank God, no. I think in the first season there was one thing, but like I also, and I shouldn't say this, but I wouldn't read it. I would read my lines, and then I would be like, I don't want to get spoiled. So I wouldn't read it because I didn't want to get spoiled. But I think all fans do love when, it's crossing over, like, that stuff. And there's a lot of fun stuff this season for that. And I think they did a great job in the first season with that, too.
Really.
So personal, just you, new Star Wars projects comes up. Where would you want to see yourself?
Involved?
Yeah.
in any possible way. I mean, gosh, I've been pitching them ideas. I just want, I have so many. Anything. I don't know how to answer that question, because literally, if they were like, "Hey, we got this Star Wars thing. We're just gonna put you in a room, and we're not gonna do anything," I'd be like, "All right." I mean, the fact that I'm already a little piece of it right now is the craziest thing in the world. If something more comes out of that, I would obviously die.
Would it be more exciting for you to write it or perform it?
No, well, because the anxiety. Well, I have written a lot of Star Wars stuff that I'm trying to pitch because I'm a fan, but I realize the responsibility that comes with it, and I think I'm a better performer than I am a writer. So I would, a faceless alien, something like that. You know what I mean? Like, just to be part of that. Yeah, anything. I would do anything like that. The Mandalorian, I literally would hold boom on The Mandalorian. It looks, I'm just a fan already. It just looks so good. I can't wait to see that.
Do you have a favorite Star Wars character besides Orka?
I always said Jabba the Hutt, because when I was growing up, Jabba the Hutt, besides Orka, I also play Yanni, the goat man. I tell everyone that too on this Resistance. His name's Yanni, and it makes me laugh. I always used to say Jabba the Hutt, because Jabba the Hutt to me was just Star Wars. It's a bunch of guys inside a puppet in a weird bar and with a bunch of other people with masks on. Like that was Star Wars to me. It was just like a bunch of people in the 70s built this thing in the desert and then filmed it. Like, that's fun to me. But I think now, I definitely is Princess Leia, easily. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know what's going to happen in Rise of Skywalker, but I'm really enjoying the theories and the ideas, like that technically she is the linchpin of everything. Like if she was trained instead of Luke, if Yoda trained her, you know what I mean? Like that whole side of it, and the idea. Name one other person in the Star Wars universe, maybe like Admiral Akbar might be like, who has accumulated more, like princess, general, senator, Jedi. Mm-hmm. She's the most powerful in every way. So I think maybe her.
That's awesome.
So you have a lot of geek credit because of your knowledge and your love for it. Who's the biggest fan on the crew right now?
On the show?
Yeah.
Me. And I'll beat up anyone who says different. I truly think it might be me, but I think, well, no, I'll take that back. I'm the most vocal. I'm the most unashamed. But it still might be me. Still might be me.
Have you collected anything since last time
maybe,
we talked to you?
maybe Athena. I might say Athena.
Do you have a license plate to match?
I don't, but I do. But my back windshield wiper was a lightsaber for a little while. I have been, for the past couple weeks, have been toying with the idea of Orka has a symbol on his shoulder, and I've been toying with the idea of getting that tattoo. I think I should.
Heard it here first.
We do it. Yeah.
But I'm afraid.
Peer pressure. Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
I should do it.
Do little kids hear your voice and recognize you, either from DuckTales or this?
Not until I laugh. I don't know why. I can talk to someone for 20 minutes and they don't notice, and then I laugh and they go, "Hey, wait a minute!" I don't know why. I don't know what it is.
Is it more DuckTales or is it more?
I don't get DuckTales a lot. DuckTales, DuckTales a little more kiddie, and I think they might even pitch it up a little bit. But I very rarely am going around town talking like this. So sometimes, but no. For some reason, when I I'll be in a store talking to somebody, and then I'll laugh, and 3 people will go, "Hey!" I don't know why. I have a weird giggle.
Would you like to see, are you a fan of other mediums of Star Wars storytelling? And if there was one you could pick to see more Star Wars stories in, which would it be?
Wow. Yes, I'm a fan of anything. I mean, like, the way the Mandalorian looks does not look like television. It looks so good. And as a Star Wars fan and purist, I go, like, they're using miniatures again. Like, they're going back and doing all that stuff that made it so cool to me. So something like that, you know what I mean? Like, I would love,
There'd be a lot of really cool puppetry for Flix and Orka.
Yeah. Can I show you?
Yes, please.
This thing.
When they got nominated for the Emmy, I sent them that. I had this made.
See, I was just asking if you collected more. That's amazing.
Oh, I had this made because I wanted to pitch a spin-off with them live action, and I wanted to show, like, this is what it could look like.
Yeah.
But,
oh my god, that's
and
so
I did that,
awesome.
and also
Is that through your Muppet friends?
Jamie Bresler, really, this girl, she used to work at SNL. She worked with Henson. She's an amazing puppeteer and makes these beautiful puppets. And I just went, you got to make me one someday. And she made me, I was in Monsters University, she made me my character from that. And then when I got Star Wars, I called her up immediately.
Oh my God.
That is so cool.
And then this was this week. Oh God, where is it? Sorry.
No, please take your time.
It's scale to the figure. I just had one made.
God, he's so
I'm
awesome.
having it painted now, but it's like an actual figure, scale to the right size. It's the same size as Yoda figure, and it matches all the Star Wars Resistance ones.
That is so awesome.
So now you have your own action figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to make it because I didn't know if I couldn't wait.
Don't hedge your bets.
I was a stormtrooper. I'm a stormtrooper in a couple episodes, which is definitely not lost on me either. And also, right before I started doing the stormtrooper voice, my heart started pounding. I was on Saturday Night Live for 9 years, live television. Not once did I get nervous after the first episode. And doing that stormtrooper voice, I was like, I was so nervous I was going to get it wrong. They're so distinct, you know. Like I took it way too seriously. But when they came out with the Star Wars figures, the Resistance figures, and I have a picture, literally in tears, holding the Stormtrooper one, like a child.
Wait, calling back to SNL, if we've got a hot second, what do you think your Stormtrooper would be doing today, heading after The Last Jedi? Do you think he survived?
Maybe we'll see.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
So great to see
Good seeing you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Such a pleasure.
Yes.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio, featuring sound effects, music, and top-notch narrators from the movies. Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From Luke Skywalker to Kylo Ren to Admiral Akbar, you'll recognize all of your favorite characters. Listen to movie tie-ins like The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, and original titles such as Thrawn Treason, Alphabet Squadron, Master and Apprentice, and the audiobook exclusive Dooku Jedi Lost. With Star Wars audiobooks, you'll have plenty of Star Wars listening to keep you entertained. Available wherever audiobooks are sold. MEI and Mouse Fan Travel is the travel service that I use for the show and for my family, and it is absolutely wonderful. Their signature service and expert advice will help clients maximize their vacation time and dollar. Their no-cost, no-obligation quote when you use the service is awesome, and they also proactively adjust a booking if the rate goes down. They will help your family enjoy everything Galaxy's Edge and the Disney theme parks and cruise lines have to offer, help plan every detail, and will share invaluable tips. Be sure to go to our affiliate link, which can be found in the show notes, on the front of our webpage, or on our social media, and sign up for a free, no-obligation quote. You'll have the best vacation possible and help out Coffee with Kenobi in the process. I want to thank our CWK Patreon contributors, Jason Hall, Dennis Keithley, David Nicely, Jeff Ellis, Colby Mead, Yancey Evans, Ross Halliban, Frank Mulder, Alexander Moylan, Melinda Wolf, Aaron Harris, Chris Gavarka, Angela Sauce, Rebecca Raven, Simbot Detradarian, Christine Turk, Sean Reed, Kurt McKellen, Dan Ream, Brian Harding, Blake Weaver, Jim Capron, Caroline Maselli, Chris Metz, LJ Souter, Thea Selby, Daz Davies, Christian Dale, Brian McKinney, Jared Cantor, BJ Smith, Eric Struthers, Nick Deco, and Mark Suter. Being a member of our Patreon contributors is a wonderful thing for us because you help the show in so many ways. You keep the lights on, keep things going in the studio, and help with the travel and all things that go into producing and making the show each and every week. It's a labor of love, but your contributions sure make that so much better. And more importantly, you get something out of it as well. The first thing you get out of it is for $5 or more a month, you get access to CWK Patreon show, CWK Pour-Over, hosted by myself, Tom Gross, and Corey Club, which is an absolute blast. And that's really what this thing is all about. It's the behind-the-scenes stuff. It's the thoughts and things that are Star Wars, yes, but also popular culture. And it is a great time doing that with Tom and Corey each and every week. And those come out on Sunday morning. So, hey, so you're sitting there, it's Sunday morning, you're having your coffee, enjoying time with your family, and you have a CWK pour over to listen to, what could be more fun than that? On a serious note, however, 10% of your monthly contributions to Coffee with Kenobi goes directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital to help out those patients and their families. If you have any questions, be sure to email me, danz@coffeewithkenobi.com. I'm happy to answer anything you have about Patreon. But if you want to sign up right now and hear CWK pour over, help out St. Jude, and get access to t-shirts, coffee mugs, special videos, and so much more, go to patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi and sign up today.
Things happening. And so, yes. Talk a little bit about how they, pitched to you what her arc was going to be, and certainly what your thoughts are about, I guess, really getting to see how someone could turn from who they thought they were and then kind of get manipulated by the first order.
Well, it was a very slow process. I always knew that the character had the potential for heading into trouble, for getting herself into trouble or heading in a direction that perhaps, was unsavory. And then it kind of happened episode by episode, which for me was great because that's how you're discovering because she didn't know that this was where she was headed or why, or, all of the events sort of led her in that direction. And that's how I got to discover it, was on an episode by episode basis. So it was really something that grew. So I didn't know until I would get the next episode what was happening with her. So it kept the intensity of not knowing what's going to happen next, which I hope that will continue to happen, as we head into season 2.
So obviously this is the beginning of the last season, and I would like to know, what are you most proud of when it comes to being part of Star Wars Resistance? And what mark do you think?
I'm proud of our story, and I'm proud that we got to go into an uncharted territory, and kind of go to a no man's land where, just whoever ends up, and we got to meet some new people there and discover new things about that kind of place and the water world, so to speak. So I'm really proud of that, and I'm really proud how our story has grown and how, those last few episodes of the first season, we are cooking on gas, and it is thrilling. And I think I'm proud that we were acknowledged with our Emmy nomination, and our Saturn win, in our first season. That's something, something to be proud of, and excited about. And it's just all kind of culminates in the fact that we are going to hit the ground running in this second season, and that's just really exciting. And I just want the fans to see it now, because I'm like, it's a story within a much bigger story, and it's really interesting to see how just the general public are experiencing the threat of the First Order.
This new season seems to take place sort of alongside The Last Jedi. The first season took place alongside Force Awakens. I mean, are we going to catch up to Rise of Skywalker by the end of this season?
I think it brings us to it, but we're not going to be...
You're not engaging in the same way that you have. Okay, cool.
No. It's just a nice story that brings us to which we're really all very excited about.
Yes, of course.
Which I'm sure you are.
Suzie, how has this changed your look on Star Wars as a franchise? You're a fan. How's being involved like this?
I feel like I've gained so much, a community that I just didn't have before, an interest and hobby that just never seems to stop, because you can go in as deep as you want, or and something that will last for many, many, many years, a lifetime. So I think those are the things that really affect me personally. Getting to meet people, to meet fans, to find out why Star Wars and why about Star Wars means so much to them, and how it's changed their life or saved their life or affected them, and then it helps me understand how it's done those things for me too, and I understand why it is so special to people. And it's cool to kind of have that. I don't know that I'd had that. Like, maybe I had, but not in this way, or understood, kind of being part of a club, being part of a family, and having a really cool interest. And it's so, like, you can go forever. There's so much to delve into, just like the different species and the droids and the ships and the different worlds, and so I feel like there's lots for people to enjoy with Star Wars, from babies all the way up to, because there's kind of something for everyone. So so I'm really happy to get to have fun with that too.
Well, on that topic, the fandom had a big reaction to you last season. How did you take that in? Like, how was that, seeing how everyone reacted?
It was fun, because it's like you have this sort of secret, and it's a thing, but you don't get to share it. So getting to sort of see how the fans are taking it, and like some people are like, "Why? No!" And I'm like, "I know that's how I felt, but it's that's the story." And it's exciting because we're going to see. We've never seen someone be recruited into the First Order before. This is the first time we're going to see this in Star Wars, and we've seen people leave, but we haven't seen how does a normal kind of girl like Tam get recruited into the First Order. So that for me is really an interesting kind of fact. And I think the actors surrounding that, Somali, who plays Agent Tierney, is chilling and thrilling at the same time. So recording with her, you're like, like, you feel it. It's so a lot of fun.
In reference to that storyline, did they give you, obviously you were, as you said, were learning along the way what her eventual path was going to be to start this season, but did they give you any reference material or things that they wanted you to look at to kind of even just understand more the choices that she's making, so that as we're seeing how she gets indoctrinated and the things that are used against her feels really inherent to you, or feels like you understand it?
I think that was happening, but it was in a very organic way. So just, through studying each episode, you can feel where it's growing. It was very clear. And then, when you get to the sessions and stuff, you will have a chat about what's happening before. But I feel like I kind of mentioned that I think I said last year that I felt very connected to the character immediately, and I felt like that the whole time. And so I think it's something that just kind of felt very organic anyway. Is that answering your question? Okay.
Have you been to Star Wars Land yet? No.
I'm waiting. No, I'm waiting for the other leg to open.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I mean, I may lose patience, but because I think I just want to go and do
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to be January. I don't want to say
January here. January here.
That's what I'm going to do. But.
Right.
You mentioned the Star Wars family and how you become part of this great big family that has all the different levels that you can dive into and enjoy. What's your personal favorite for now that you're in the world?
In what way?
As in genre, were you drawn to original movies, the animation, or what has gotten your interest now that you're involved with them?
I made it my mission to watch everything, and I've pretty much done that. There's just some ends of seasons, things that I need to kind of catch up on. But So I think you have to sort of see it as a whole. And what I've really enjoyed is going back, scrambling the movies so it's all in time order, and then filling in where Clone Wars pops in and then where Rebels pops in. So I like things perfect. So my mission was to really go from the very, very, very beginning. And I do really like the animations, because for me, coming into something that is so complex, you get to watch these 20-30 minute episodes, concentrating on intense scenarios, and it really helped, I think, has helped me understand the whole Star Wars universe as a whole. I am really excited. Like, Force Awakens, obviously I'm going to be biased because Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, these are stories that surround Star Wars Resistance. So that for me, I kind of I favour because it's a bit more personal. But I'm excited for The Rise of Skywalker, and to see how this concludes and see what's next. And then we've got The Mandalorian happening. I think it's a very exciting time. There's so much going on, and I'm in. So I just want to be watching with everyone else.
Would you be open to playing or continuing your character's story in a live action or another medium? And where could you see her story kind of thriving the most?
I think we have to get creative here, because I am a firm believer in the powers that be know what they're doing, and they do what they do, and we enjoy. But I think Tam does have scope to do. She could do anything. I mean, sky's the limit, really, isn't it? But so. Cool.
Yeah. We have time for one more question.
Don't look at that.
Just in terms of, as you said, you do have the opportunity to work with some of the other voice actors, which is not something that all animation allows you to do.
Yeah.
Have they, as you move through the seasons, through 1 and going through 2, have they tried to make that an opportunity that happens more and more often? Obviously, so often it's about schedules and getting people together, but have there been any sessions where you've been able to work with other actors too that have been a particular joy to you, or just you were happy you were able to do it with other actors because it really helped sell the scene?
I think in the time that I've worked on the show, I've got to work with a tremendous amount of different actors, and then crossing over into Team First Order. That's a whole new set of actors that I'd never gotten to work with before, or maybe missed at sessions and things like that. So definitely that changed, and that was interesting to see, how the other actors, how they get into their, meanie, baddie, First Order, like chilling kind of personas. So that I think is the biggest difference from season 1 to season 2. So my work colleagues became First Order people. I was on the other side, man. I'm gone, I was like, bye. Bye, Colossus. I've moved on. The cool thing is my character gets a costume change. I think she's the only one. I don't want to confirm something that might not be real, but I think she's the only person that gets to change her outfit, and it's all shiny black, and she looks all cool.
Did they show you art first? Yeah, that's good.
Tam is the only person between the span of The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi who took a shower and
She definitely looks definitely more shiny and cleaned up, and her hair's all slick, and so that's fun.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks
Thank you so much.
So having a full season, the last time when I saw you, and talking about, kind of establishing Kaz, and going into season 2 now, he's still, we see in the first 2 episodes, wants so much to believe in the people and trust the people that he, considers his advocates, but there's still the kind of innocence versus the reality of what's happening. So what's his arc for you in terms of playing that, and your own frustrations with him, and then your own also admiration of him as a character.
I think actually those are the perfect ways of saying the admiration is that he always believes. He doesn't want to give up on family, and he considers the Team Fireball family. He never wants to give up on Tam. Frustration is the fact that she is not listening. She is making decisions, emotional decisions that, if you just listened, just for a little, just listen, that you wouldn't be, none of this would be happening. We could all be happy. Essentially the first season was him learning to kind of be selfless, stop being selfish, and understand that there are consequences to your action. And now, in second season, he's watching that same type of reaction in Tam, that she is now becoming from selfless to selfish and having to deal with the consequences of her actions.
What makes you proud about being part of Star Wars Resistance?
That the coolest thing is that we're a canonical timeline in the Star Wars universe. I am the first Asian American lead of a Star Wars franchise. Yay! There's nothing cooler than representation and diversity. I grew up and I didn't really have too many role models on television. I mean, even if I asked you now, how many multi-ethnic Asian Americans do you see on television? Can you name them? Not many names come to mind. So if you consider the fact that when I was a kid, Bruce Lee was a poster on my wall, everyone knew Bruce Lee. Everyone thought Asian Americans or Asians do martial arts or do math. Well, those are the stereotypes that we're given because we don't have representation. That's the only thing that people are aware of. So now to have heroes who are goofballs, who can, from goofball, become mature and be heroes in their own setting, in their own lives, people see that and say, hey, I'm a goofball. And I can potentially not just be a sidekick to someone else, I can be my own hero in my own life. And I can be the leader, for once. And it's really cool. I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud that Disney and Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy and Justin, Brandon, Athena, the whole team, I'm proud that they took a risk and took a chance on me to be able to try and fill that shoes of being a role model.
That was a great answer.
Thanks. I've been practicing.
Press training.
Yeah. Good. There's so much physical comedy in the animation. How's that play out into your recording?
The cool thing is like they're very free with us to kind of like play. Obviously, I can't move around too much because then they capture all the sounds and it ruins the recording. So I've really tried. However, they do a really good job of allowing us to just have fun. And we've learned to kind of wear looser fitting clothes and shoes that don't squeak, so I can be more like Kaz. But yeah, I mean, the physical comedy really comes down into just, working in the bubble that you're provided, and I'm having fun doing it.
It shows.
Thank you.
You kind of had some fun kind of buddy cop moments with Oscar Isaac last season. Did you ever record with him? Have you met him? What is that dynamic like?
Coolest story, man. I got told, hey, you want to fly to New York and work with Oscar Isaac? I was like, do I? Yeah, absolutely. So they're like, okay, cool. So spoke to my agent. They're flying me out. Oh, we also spoke with Oscar. He's going to get you tickets to watch him perform off Broadway in the Hamlet.
Oh.
I get to watch him perform in New York off Broadway play Hamlet, and he's brilliant. So I was really excited. Next morning, I'm going to go work with Oscar Isaac after watching him perform Hamlet. I'm going to be there an hour early, and I'm going to just be prepped, ready, And right when I show up in the morning, he's already there. He's watching the show. He's sipping tea, and he's like, "Hey, man, great performance. Love the show. Great character." And I was like, how did you beat me here? But then we got into the booth, and I was nervous. I mean, it's Oscar Isaac. Graduated Juilliard. He's amazing. He's a phenomenal talent. He's a phenomenal talent. But what he is, he's a great leader. He's identical to Poe. He became Poe in the reads, and we were working together. And in his acting, he guided me, which in turn, I was like, okay, I can take that, but I'm also going to try and throw a couple curveballs in there to see what you do with it. And he was like, oh, I like this. So we started playing back and forth, and the chemistry relayed on the screen, permeated the screen, which is great. And the producer's like, "Oh my God, you guys did great together." And I was like, "But that's Oscar Isaac, man!" So it was really cool. So I got to work with him in New York. It was a lot of fun. There's like a lot of funny stories that happened in New York while I was there, but that's a different story.
Well, it's always nice because now you can go watch Star Wars and go like, "Oh, that's my character's friend."
Yeah, right.
For this season, and the producers were talking a lot about how excited they are for people to see and what's going to come with new characters, and as you guys are trying to basically outrun the First Order. And you mentioned yourself about his kind of arc to maturity. What are some of the things that you've enjoyed the most, without spoiling, but just in terms of the things that you've been able to play that you didn't maybe get to play in season 1 that you're really getting to play in season 2? I
really liked fighting Kylo Ren. No, I'm just kidding. I just you're like, No, I'm totally joking. That did not happen. No, I really just the cool thing is again, Kaz kind of finds himself taking a leadership position, still always making mistakes and fixing the mistakes as they happen, but they're on a grander scheme. And then he's got to deal with pirates, and he's got to deal with the frustrations of having no food and water and mutiny potentially, all these different issues, these new obstacles. So you get to watch a character that you've already become familiar with dealing with new problems in a brand new adventure throughout space that feels so much like Star Wars. And it is Star Wars now. And that's what I really enjoy about this season, that you got TIE fighters already coming at you. You got the masks of stormtroopers already. Everything's now Star Wars. It's no longer a platform colossus in the middle of the ocean far away. Now we're in space fighting against the First Order.
Chris, everybody talks about once they're part of the Star Wars family, they're always there. What's going to be your takeaway from your first experience in the Star Wars family?
Man, I've always had a special place in my heart for Star Wars because my dad would tell us bedtime stories in the voice of Yoda and the voice of Chewbacca. So for me, growing up, it was just part of my upbringing, Star Wars. And to be a part of it, just will always remind me of my family, my mom and my dad. And so, I just think that, the fact that people are going to grow up with Star Wars and being introduced to the canonical storylines through Kaz and Team Fireball and everyone in the Colossus and Resistance, I just think that is wonderful for them to know that this is going to be their introductory story to then finding the whole world of Star Wars, all 9 movies, 27 movies. No, but all the great movies that are part of Star Wars, and then finding their passion and making their choices of which of the movies they like. I mean, that's probably one of my favorite takeaways of it. That will be an introduction for children, and then they'll grow up into the stories.
Thank you.
Was that good? Was that a good answer?
What is your favorite Star Wars movie?
Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Yeah, because so many famous moments. Luke, I am your father. Do or do not, there is no try. I mean, so many moments in Empire Strikes Back. And that's just my earliest recollection of Star Wars, and that was my introduction. So for me, that was like me and my dad sitting there and not really knowing what I was watching, just hanging out in my dad's lap, watching, just being a kid. That's my favorite movie. Just, again, the nostalgic reason, family reasons.
Was Dad a big Star Wars fan?
He was. Yeah, my dad's a big fan of anything cool, and Star Wars is real cool. So, yeah, he's a good dude, man.
I find it really interesting how Star Wars, and especially people of color and families of color like mine and yours, kind of use that storytelling to bond. Mm-hmm. Do you see that happening with a lot of the audience in Resistance, and do you kind of see that bond in the fandom, and how has that affected you?
I think that it's always been there, regardless of being ethnic or diverse or not. It's Star Wars, and we all are aware that it's a time far, far away, right? But essentially, now that we're just providing more ethnic color, more race, and providing a forefront. But I think we all always knew that it was there. It's just nice to have it, finally show it. But yeah, I mean, we all bonded because Star Wars is about family. Mm-hmm. It is. It's Darth Vader, son Luke, sister Leia. You know, like, it's about family and dealing with whether you're in space or not. Like, we can all understand those problems. It's like, if you show me a family, I'll show you a family with problems. Mm-hmm. And that goes everywhere. So it's very relatable, regardless if it's space or at home. So, yeah. I think that answers your question.
Feel good?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you also.
Great.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Thrawn Treason and the audiobook exclusive Dooku Jedi Lost, to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Start listening wherever audiobooks are sold.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along. Move along.